Well, hi everyone, I'm Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop, and today we're going to do something very different. Hi everyone, I'm Scott from the Old Hold on. Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop.
There's an old curiosity shop. Every once in a while I go by there for the fond recollections that lie there in that old curiosity shop.
Now today we're going to do something very different. One of the things that I enjoy doing the most is leafing through the old magazines because I learned so much. This is the American Home magazine of October of 1934. October of 1934. And as I was flipping through it, I discovered in the back a recipe for some cookies. And these are called magic cookies. Now, I was speaking to my mother on the telephone, and she said, "Oh, I've got a recipe somewhere around here for magic cookies." And of course, she disappeared, and 20 minutes later, she came back with some ancient magazine clipping that she's had since 1962. And it is sort of a modern take on magic cookies. But it had a lot of extra ingredients. We're going to stick to the 1934 recipe for magic cookies. Pardon me. And we're going to make it exactly the way maybe your grandmother or great-grandmother did right in the early but pretty dark days of the Depression, 1934. I am going to include the recipe in the link below. Don't worry, there are only 3 ingredients. That's right, just 3. And so what we're going to do in just a moment is head out to the kitchen. I've got all the ingredients on the counter ready. The oven is preheated. I've already percolated a cup of coffee. And this is exciting. It's crispy treats the way our grannies made them in 1934. Stay tuned.
Wanna do everything you wanna do. Make me realize that there's no one else but you. My heart cries, please take me. Make me yours. Make me dream a dream of a cottage built for 2. But don't forget to see that you make my dream come true. My heart cries, please take me. Make me yours. I have asked each fortune teller what the future's going to be, and I know that you can tell me if you will. Oh, there's something I'd appreciate that you can do for me. Make me your favorite thrill. Make me want your love more than anything I own. Make me want the moonlight where we can be alone. My heart cries, please take me. Make me yours.
Well, no, everybody, that is not my growling stomach. I'm happy to say I've had my bacon and eggs. That's the familiar sound of the old coffee percolator. How many of you remember that sound from your grandparents' house? Now, my mother and father were not big coffee drinkers, but my grandparents were. And yep, they sure were still using these wonderful old chrome percolators even in the early 1970s when I was a boy and would be babysat. I remember that sound, and I certainly remember that smell. I know you do, too. This is Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop, stuck in your granny's kitchen. Let me unplug this percolator, add a little milk and sugar to my coffee, and we're gonna come right back with some magic cookies. It's 1934, folks. Stay tuned. So let's go ahead and pull the cord off of my mid-1930s Farber Brothers or Farberware percolator, which I have totally restored, and it just works like a dream. This is probably going to be for sale in the Old Curiosity Shop, but I want to use it for about a month. Make sure it's making good coffee. You can see that it's piping hot. I've already got a little bit of sweetener in there. Add a little bit of milk from this wonderful opalescent creamer. I like my coffee strong, as you can see. I do like a lot of milk in it, but that's a pretty strong cup of coffee. Being served in an Ovid Hazel Atlas fired on teacup and saucer. Okay, so what we're going to do now, folks, is clear away some of these things. I'm going to move the camera, get you right over top of the action over here, and we are about to make magic together, okay? I know you're on the edge of your seats. Let's get to it. I found $1 million baby in a 5 and 10 cent store. Oh my goodness, it calls for Eagle brand sweetened condensed milk. I think I only have evaporated milk out there. I wonder if I could use that. Oh, I know. We'll call my friend Eleanor. She'll be able to help. Yes, Pennsylvania Avenue, please. The big house. That one. Yes, Eleanor. Oh, Franklin, how in the heck did I get a hold of you? Aren't you busy with your new deal or something like that? Listen, by the way, we love your fireside chats. I know you've only been in there for about a year, but you're doing a fantastic job. Now, listen, go and busy yourself with the new deal. Could I speak to the lady of the house, please?
That lovely, folks?
Oh, she is? Okay. Bing Crosby? No, Eleanor. Hello, is this Mrs. Roosevelt? Eleanor, listen, I am so glad I got a hold of you because I have a question. Now, I don't know when the last time it was you were up at Oyster Bay. I'm sorry? Oh, that's your husband's cousin. Oh, that's right, the Hudson River. Well, anyway, are you familiar with magic cookies? You are. Well, my question is, am I allowed to use Eagle brand evaporated milk rather than the condensed sweetened milk? You wouldn't think of it. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate the tip. By the way, how did Mrs. Hoover leave things in the kitchen? That's a travesty. By the way, I understand that, well, I don't mean to get personal, but I understand things in the boudoir aren't quite as spicy as they were at one time. Am I... Oh. Well, I'm sorry. I've been sequestered for a month and a half, so I just was hoping to hear a little excitement. But anyway, will you do me a favor? Listen, there's a gal here in Philadelphia. She grew up on Colorado Street. It's about 20 blocks south of where I am right now. She's a really great singer. Her name's Marian Anderson. I've got a feeling that a couple years from now, she's going to try to perform for the Daughters of the American Revolution, and they're basically going to tell her to take a short walk off a long pier. Wait a minute. I think that's a long walk off a short pier. Yeah, that. Would you do me a favor? Would you treat her right? Show those old biddies a thing or two. That's a good idea. Well, listen now, I appreciate the chat. Listen, tell Franklin to lay off the scotch. It's not good for his image. Bye now. Love you. It's nice to have friends in high places. Now, as you can see, the recipe is very simple. You're going to be able to memorize these ingredients, but I will put them in the description box below, and I would love to hear about your disasters or your successes with this magic cookie. So we've got 5 ways to make them, And here's what we start off with. Now, obviously, Eagle brand condensed milk is the sponsor here of this ad. And it says we need 1 1/3 cups or 1 can of Eagle brand sweetened condensed milk, half a cup of peanut butter, and any one of the 5 ingredients listed to the left. So here are your choices. 2 cups raisins, 2 cups cornflakes, 3 cups coconut, 2 cups bran flakes, or 1 cup of nut meats chopped. I have decided to go with the raisins because that's what I've got. All right, no flour, no baking, no powder, only 3 ingredients mixed in no time. Yet, whatever of the 5 ways you choose to make them, these cookies are crunchy, crispy winners. Okay, crunchy, crispy winners. We will soon find out. Let's take a closer look here. And I am going to be blocking the sunlight, which is behind me, so we'll turn on an overhead light, and hopefully that'll help just a little bit. I'm going to be balancing the magazine here on my 1930s breakfast table newspaper rack to make it even more authentic. Let's have just a little bit more light since I am casting a shadow. That should help. Here's my can of condensed milk. Sweetened condensed milk. Don't use the evaporated or it will be bleh. The raisins that I'm going to use, that's 2 cups of raisins. Here's my 1 1/3 cup of peanut butter. And that's it. Those are the 3 ingredients. Now, you know, I know you're saying, well, I would add a little of this and a little of that. Well, that's fine. But look, the first time we're going to do it exactly the way the magazine says. So now let me get the camera all situated and then I'll be hands-free and I'll be right back. Now, I do have in front of me 2 cans, and you want to make sure that you don't use the wrong one. It will not work with evaporated milk. And in fact, the recipe here says specifically, but remember, evaporated milk can't succeed in this recipe. You must use sweetened condensed. So don't confuse the two. We're going to use the sweetened condensed. We're going to get the evaporated milk out of the way. I also have some coconut, and I'm tempted to drizzle a little coconut inside, but we're going to actually just stick to the recipe as it is and just use 3 ingredients. That is the plate from which I plan to eat the cookies when they come out of the oven. We're going to mix them up in this jadeite mixing bowl right here. This is paprika, and it's only sitting there for decoration. It's display purposes only. Now, once we get it all mixed, we're supposed to drop it onto a buttered cookie sheet. And since we're sticking to the 1930s, I am not going to be using that spray stuff. We're going to do it the way the old church ladies did it. Take a piece of wax paper and a little bit of butter, and I'm actually going to be smearing that all over my cookie sheet. Okay, so let's get mixing. But first, let me open up this can of carnation.
Speed myself up here as to not completely bore you. And yes, I'm using a good old-fashioned can opener, such as this one, as you can see. Alright, there it is. Wash that off. Pull this over here. My lid open.
And there it goes into the thing. And I do have a... Alright, now please ignore this modern Walmart spatula. I don't happen to have an antique spatula. I'm not sure that I would want to use one if I did. But in goes this gloopity-gloppity sweetened condensed milk. $1934 would have been a year that most Americans wouldn't have had a lot of discretionary income. Cookies would have been a treat. And certainly using whatever you had on hand would have been a necessity. That's right, no flour, no baking soda, nothing other than the ingredients that you see right here. All right, I'm going to use that later. Now in goes the cup, rather the half a cup of peanut butter, which, as I said, is a little bit more than that. There certainly were electric mixers in the early 1930s. Electric mixers, beaters, there were all kinds of kitchen gadgets in use at that time. But for today, I'm just going to be mixing it by hand the old-fashioned way. And then my choice for our fifth magic ingredient are going to be the raisins. 2 cups. In they go. And let's get this butter out of the way. So that's it. Those are our 3 ingredients right there. And I'm going to give these a good stir. This is going to take a few minutes and a little bit of elbow grease. But it actually mixes up quite easily. Now it says in the directions that this is supposed to be a crispy treat. I'm not so sure how these are going to be. I guess it's the sugar in the condensed milk that's going to be crispy. We'll see. Right? We will see together. Okay, there we go. Now I must admit that at the moment it has a very strong resemblance to cat vomit.
Put your hands in the air.
So I hope that it lives up to its promise, these magic cookies. Let's just set this aside for a moment and grease the pan. Now this is a non-stick pan, but we're going to do what it tells us to do in the recipe and grease it up with the butter.
Using a piece of waxed paper. Yes, I'm one of those people that does keep waxed paper on hand. For various reasons. With this whole pan, I don't know, but when I cook these, if these cookies are gonna stay together like the recipe says, or if they're gonna spread all out as if you were making something in a loaf, you know, such as lemon squares or that kind of thing. So I'm gonna grease the entire pan here with the butter, just like they tell us to do.
Alright, there we go. Throw this thing away and let me rinse my hands off. I am a very clean cook. My kitchen, by the way, is spotless, and I do cook and I do bake, but I do lots of wiping down and cleaning as I go, because one thing I do not like to do when it's all said and done is to spend an hour in the kitchen cleaning. Now it says, bloopity bloopity bloop, what does it say? Drop by spoonfuls on buttered baking sheet. Bake 15 minutes or until brown in a moderately hot oven. That would be about 375 degrees. Now this says it makes 30 cookies. I don't know about that. But the oven over here is preheating to 375 degrees. Now, while you weren't watching, I went ahead and greased up 2 cookie sheets. I do have 2 cookie sheets here because the recipe says that it makes 30 cookies. That, of course, would depend on the size of the spoonfuls that you drop onto your pan. I'm going to probably be dropping on I'll probably use a teaspoon because I prefer cookies to be a little bit smaller. So instead of this big tablespoon, I'll go ahead and grab the teaspoon that I used to dole out the peanut butter. I'll wash this off and then I'll be using this one. So let's get to it.
course, nothing was more exciting as a child than being called out into the kitchen and being able to lick the beater. Well, I didn't use a beater today, but I sure am going to lick this spatula. I give you permission to do the exact same thing.
Well, cats and kittens, there they are. I will say that they were a bit of a challenge to get off of the cookie sheets. So go ahead and even if you've got a non-stick cooking sheet, you better grease that cooking sheet very well. Maybe I would even cook them on waxed paper next time. But definitely get them scooped off when they're still very hot. I am impressed with how they did brown up nicely. You can see here, and they do hold together as a cookie. It almost looks like a chocolate chip. Yes, and nice and brown on the bottom. What do you think? Well, let's get it. What do you think? Would that make the old church ladies happy? That looks like a nice cookie. A couple of them were, this one decided it was going to have a mind of its own and sort of didn't come off in a very pretty way. But there they are. Now remember, I think probably the coconut or the cornflakes would have been a better binding ingredient than just the raisins. So these, most of them did hold together and keep a nice cookie form. But as I said, some of them were a little difficult getting off, but they are nice and brown and they're good and soft. I've got my plate and my milk ready. It's time to have a little taste test. Well, wait no longer, here they are. A nice plate of cookies, a glass of cold milk, and I'm all set for a fun afternoon snack. They hold together very well, nice and brown on the bottoms. Let's try them. Oh, it's chewy. And sweet. These are wonderful. I mean, they're not going to win any prize at the county fair, but 3 little ingredients that probably most housewives had on hand in 1934. They're really not bad. Listen, the recipe is in the description box below. If you decide to make them, why don't you let me know how they turn out? And what did you choose out of those 5 magic ingredients? Somebody try it with the corn flakes or the chopped nuts or the coconut. I'd like to know how it turns out. Anyway, this lifted my spirits to spend this time with you. I hope you enjoyed watching. Stay well, stay safe. I'm Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop saying thanks for watching and so long for now. No, Salem, we're practicing social distancing. You stay there with your cat treats, and I'll stay here with my human treats. Good. Now look, mister, the 6 feet of separation goes for you too. So we're gonna have to social distance you from your baby doll. May I? Oh, I may not?